want you to come down and meet Mr. Bruce Wayne.
Hi.
You've been reckless, Miss Gordon.
I have no idea what you could be talking about.
Does your father know you sneak out late at night to pick fights with criminals?
Does he know you've been doing the same thing, Mr. Wayne?
Back when I was your age, sweetie, criminals didn't have nicknames.
Stop following the Batman.
All they wore on their faces were ski masks.
Batman showed up late.
Batman had a well-constructed plan that you compromised.
By getting the job done?
Nowadays, they have to be half a zoo creature or a Lewis Carroll character.
As long as Batman answers to you and the people of Gotham, I think the fool can kill himself whatever way he wants.
He's not a fool. There are people in Gotham that are just like him. People who want to protect the city.
I've never gotten involved.
Then teach me! One day he'll have to face the truth. He's not as alone as he wants to be.
I'm not afraid to hurt you if it means you can't get yourself killed.
Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Sit down and do videos.
Oh no, definitely. Especially if it's just you on your own. Like, doing this is so much easier than doing like comic reviews or
Yeah.
it is so much easier to just sit down and talk with someone than it is to try to do a video all on your own.
It is. And like I've been wanting to do more scripted stuff, and I like doing the weekly manos, but man, that's some extra work that I am just like too exhausted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand that. It gets really hard to have that energy for it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you want to go ahead and get into this?
Yeah, let's get into this.
Alrighty.
And I already picked my next week choice, by the way, so I'm all set.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, in that case, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen Fan Film Reviews. I'm Sid Partu. Joining me today is...
The Real Manos.
Indeed. So I gotta kind of start by sort of apologizing to the fan film creator here. I first heard about this fan film, which is called New Wings, a Batgirl fan film, from a trailer that they posted on their YouTube channel, like a month or two before the thing released. And I was like, oh, whenever that comes up, I'm definitely going to review it. I don't know if I left a comment saying that or something, but I definitely said that in my head. And as soon as it was released, I put it on my watch later, and it stayed there, and it stayed there, and it took me this long to get to it, almost a year after release. I'm pretty sure by the time this video goes up, it will have been a full year. So sorry about that, folks. I'm sure you would have liked more immediate feedback, but hey, here he is. So Manos, what did you think of New Wings, a Batgirl fan film?
Okay, spoiler alert, I really loved it. I was really tickled by the humor, pacing, the production value. There's a lot of references to Bat lore and like what will become of these characters in some regards. The acting is really great, and it's I enjoyed the chemistry all three of the actors had with each other, and it seems pretty fun with it's the way it kind of plays with working with within being Batman and stuff like that. Sounds kind of fun. I really enjoyed this, and plus also it used the good Batgirl costume.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. Like, it's such just a pinnacle of this is a fan film, and in like the best possible way, because you can tell they've got a little bit of a budget, and they use it for their film equipment, and they use a little bit of it on costuming, but 90% of this is just there are a million fan films where people just shoot scenes in rooms in their houses, but they always go too far. It's like it's your mom's bedroom, but you're making it the Penguin's office or something like that. It just doesn't gel. But here it's just, yeah, it's a fan film. It's a Batgirl fan film shot in somebody's house, but it takes place in Batgirl's house, so it just works on that level. That's just so perfect to do it that way. And it's got like all the wider scope of all the craziness of Gotham in the context of it, but it doesn't need to show you much of that. And that makes the little bit you get so incredible.
It's extremely economical in the way it does that. I mean, it's basically just in this house. It's shot beautifully, so I guess, without worrying about, too many locations, they're able to concentrate, their funds on making this look good. And, the actors also help sell this too. Because they really do feel they're at home. I'm at no point, not thinking about this, setting or anything like that being, just used for the film. Oh boy, yeah. I don't know where to start. Where would you like to begin?
For me, I think the thing I enjoyed the most about this was the tone that it sets. Right from the beginning, you get that slow zoom of Barbara coming through her window, and there's just this indie-ish rock playing in the background, and that just it feels like an indie director got a hold of a Batgirl property through some kind of series of events. I don't know, maybe a WB producer lost a bet, and it's just
or shit. Maybe this is reminds you of what maybe the new DCEU Batgirl film could look like.
I mean, that'd be awesome.
Because there's talk about giving creators more of a hand in kind of doing different interpretations. Right now we're kind of hearing a bunch of things. If the new Joker film takes off, we could see a Batgirl film like this.
I mean, I certainly hope so, because as much as I love all the superhero movies, they do tend to seem to run together and hit on a lot of the same notes, which is fine, because I think that's just storytelling in general. But at the same time, it's not like you can't do stuff that's more fresh. That's kind of why I was excited about X-Men New Mutants, but it looks like maybe we'll never get to see that movie. Because I was like, oh, cool, it's an X-Men movie, sure, but it's a horror movie. That's awesome. And then just Disney.
Too late.
Yeah, but honestly though, it's kind of cool to get those kind of combinations of things that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Oddly enough, it kind of reminds me of this really funny fake trailer someone put together for God of War, but it was an indie film. Yeah. And he's instead of swords, he's got fucking tennis rackets chained to his arms and shit, and it's just weird, quirky indie film stuff, and kind of getting a little bit of the feel for that here.
You know what this reminded me of? What? This reminded me of kind of, I don't know if there's a name for this type, but it reminded me of kind of the Bewitched sitcom style of filmmaking and storytelling, where there's something weird in the house and we can't let this person in on the weird thing. So we're kind of doing it behind their backs. There's this crazy thing going on over here. Oh, hey, how's it going? Sit over here. We're doing.
I'm trying to remember the name of the playwright. Trying to get their eyes
off the thing that's here.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the playwright. Simon Neil or Neil Simon, something like that.
Neil Simon.
Yeah, where he do the big epic farce kind of movie or plays and everything all the time.
Yeah, he didn't really. I don't know if he really did anything now you kind of make me want to see a Neil Simon comic book film.
Yeah, sure.
What would Neil Simon do with any comic book character? Shit. That's amazing. But it is that kind of and by the way, I mean sitcom in the best possible meaning of the word. To come in this universe, and we have this evil thing that's kind of breaking out, and holy shit, the effect is amazing.
It really is, and I always hesitate to do too much of my VFX know-how when stuff like this comes up. Not because I'm like gonna ruin the effect or anything. It's just there's so many different methods to do a thing that it's hard to always tell which one it was. But for that, I'm probably willing to put some money on the line. I don't think that was like a fully CG effect. I think they probably just did like a really cool makeup job on an actor's hand, and then had him wear like a green sleeve for the shots, so he could just move his hand around in different shots and make it work. Because when they're doing like the really crazy stuff with it, like when it's caught in between Bruce Wayne's hands like that, you don't get a really good close-up on it, so it looks like maybe just some clay or something that the actor stuck his hands in. But then when you get like the detailed shots of the hand, it's really, really good. It just looks very much there.
And they do a lot of good practical stuff with this. I mean, you're right. Maybe they do some green screening to get the hand out of the shot, which I think they did. I'm thinking a lot of Evil Dead with some of these scenes, with the jumping around, and they go back and forth to it being actual clay, and then what they probably use the guy's hand and a makeup effect, and they just such a great they do some really great trickery with it. I love seeing trickery in a film.
Yeah, and I mean,
where you have to guess how it's done instead of just it's a CG cartoon.
Yeah, and I mean, like the way the actors play off of the thing is super fun, because especially in fan films, but this extends all the way like between amateur filmmaking like fan films up to multi-million-dollar Hollywood blockbusters. People have a hard time acting with stuff that's not actually there. Quite often they have a really hard time bouncing off of it or just giving a thing like a feel like it has weight. And these actors are doing a just fantastic job looking like they're actually struggling with this disembodied hand, which is really, really funny. Like, God, when Bruce Wayne is holding that knife and he's like, "It's not me holding the knife," I just lost it. The reaction just felt so genuine.
They're both truly horrified. It's absolutely wonderful. And I gotta say, I love so much the character work here, where Bruce is trying to scare her and manipulate her out of being Batgirl, right behind, all while trying not to have Jim Gordon notice. And they do this whole runaround and to deal with the Clayface's hand, and we kind of get like the backstory of this like caper all while we're doing this. It's a really impressive piece of writing.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of layers to it. We even get I fucking like, we've done it way too much since The Dark Knight, but I still fucking love it whenever it comes up. And that's the people talking about Batman and what he means shit. I'm such a sucker for it. And so we get this great moment where, Gordon's under the impression they're having kind of an abstract conversation about the role Batman should play, and Bruce and Barbara are having a very direct conversation about what role he plays and why it should only be him and not anyone else. The line that really stuck out for me was something to the effect of, he can get himself killed however he wants as long as he's doing it in service of the people. And like that, as much as like, I'll break your legs or I'll tell your father is supposed to scare Barbara, that one seems like the scariest to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a direct threat.
Yeah. It's like, it's not that I'll kill you, it's that you will die doing this. And that's the thing I really, really dig.
Yeah, and I love like how Bruce and Barbara's relationship develops in this 15-minute, 20-minute film. all while doing all this juggling. Not just the characters in the film, but the filmmakers as well. I mean, good lord, there's just so much going on.
Absolutely, and it's really cool to see, you know, like we get so many stories where Batman doesn't want to take on this new protege, and then they like prove themselves, and it's usually by like taking down the bad guy or what have you. And here it's kind of that, but it's just the wackiness of the location for the scenario that makes it really, really interesting, and you can kind of see why Bruce gains the respect for her to bring her into this, you know?
Yeah. It's very true to the characters, and because one of the things I've always really loved about Barbara Gordon is she never takes Batman shit ever. She has a zero tolerance for Batman shit. And even back in the 90s when we were all enamored with God Batman, who's never wrong, she was the same way. It's like, no, you know, you're going to do this thing. You're not going to give me this Batman garbage.
Yeah.
Like as Oracle in the wheelchair or Batgirl in the animated series, the comic books, that's something she's just been immune to, is this ability he has, and it's right here.
Yeah, because like he's trying right from the beginning to Batmanify, intimidate her out of it, and she immediately calls him on it. She immediately is like, "Oh, you know, does your father know you go out at night and beat up criminals?" She's like, "Does he know you do?" And I'm just like, it's because Batman's the ultimate hypocrite, and that's what makes me love him a bit. I always go back to the Justice League versus Avengers crossover, where like the DC heroes end up in the Marvel universe, and Batman starts lecturing everybody. He's like, "Okay, we're gonna gather information. We are not going to get involved. We don't know how the rules work here. We are not going to jeopardize ourselves. And I swear to God, if anyone does anything, you will answer to me." And then they go out and they start seeing stuff, and then Batman sees the Punisher and kicks the shit out of him because he's a fucking hypocrite.
Of course.
Yeah, that's just like the exact, like that perfect level of Batman writing is, it's okay when I do it. No, it's not. But no one calls you on it because you're Batman. And you really do get a sense of that here. Let me ask you this question, just kind of like as a fan, because it's a thing I've seen every so often. The most notable example that comes to mind is the show from the 2000s, The Batman. How do you feel about the idea of like Batgirl existing before Robin?
I always think that's a neat idea, and it does make some sort of sense because, you know, if there's this character running around named Batman and you get like this other character to like be a sidekick, I mean, yeah, your first instinct is to call them Bat something. It's a girl character. Okay, I'll call her Batgirl. I don't really have any problem with that. And she just always, Barbara tends to have this quality of her where she seems older than she actually is. She's always kind of one of those old souls, born old, and probably because, you know, the divorce and, you know, following closely what her dad does and living in Gotham and, you know, being really smart, intelligent. She has a lot in common with Tim Drake in that case. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I kind of go back and forth on it because Robin's brought in, but Batgirl always brings herself in. Is the interesting part to that origin, like 90% of the time at least. And so I do think it makes sense, but there's part of me that's just like, oh, but Robin, and like Robin being kind of the partner to Batman seems like really important to the character to me. So anytime you do Batgirl was the partner first, I feel you lose a little something for him.
I don't have a problem with it. Robin coming first, well, of course, that's how it happened, and you know, publishing history, and it does have like a, you know, Robin, you know, kind of proves that, you know, Batman can have sidekicks and partners, and then Barbara usually proves that, oh, people can come in from the outside influenced by these guys. And, we've seen a number of characters that have, followed suit. Barbara's kind of the original in that.
Yeah, because you got like Cassandra Cain, you've got Stephanie Brown, Tim Drake. Yeah, a lot of characters.
All of them, really.
In the Bat family have come from the outside of it.
Yeah.
And then you still got like those ones that are brought into it, like Jason Todd and Damian Wayne. But yeah, it's interesting to look at it in that regard. I don't know. It's just a neat little like fan thing of like, how do you feel about this? Because I think the fan film pretty clearly establishes he doesn't have a partner before this.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things I notice from time to time. I'm like, it's interesting to think about. All right, what else can we talk about with this one?
I really enjoyed that. There's a wonderful exchange where Barbara tells him that, look, I lost my mother, and I'm not going to lose my father. And he's taken aback by that for a second. He goes, how did she die? She goes, no, she didn't die. Like, his first instinct was she died. That's usually how kind of Batman thinks. Although admittedly, the way she put it does kind of sound like that. But I mean, I really dug that, like, exchange quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a really, really good dialogue moment, if nothing else, too. Just well-written kind of scene. What I like about that is, with Batman, there's always this. He's just such a sucker for seeing himself in others, and so like when he seems pretty no nonsense with her until she brings up that she's doing it for her family, kind of thing. And that's kind of the thing that tips him over the edge. And he's like, yeah, she's just me. I've got to be there for her, because I always like the idea that that Batman has these proteges not because he's trying to extend his war on crime into the next generation or anything like that, but because he recognizes a desire that he had in himself in these younger people, and he wants to help them so it doesn't become all-consuming like it is for him. The typical way it's put is Dick Grayson is Batman done right and minimize the trauma. And I really, really like that idea.
Yeah.
What else? How did you... can't talk. Did you have anything that you noticed, like, whether it's technical or story-based or anything, that didn't quite work for you?
No. I don't. I've watched this twice now, and I don't have any legit complaints about it.
I had one. It was just a relatively minor, small shot where Bruce is trying to keep Gordon distracted while Barbara goes and grabs the Clayface hand, and he like kind of pulls him. I guess it's like in between the living room and the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the lighting's just such a way that like Gordon's face is lit up, but Bruce is kind of like in shadow, and I don't think that's intentional. I think that was just poor lighting placement, and it just was a small distraction that I noticed. But otherwise, yeah, I the technical side of this I thought was really, really strong, and the story I thought was just absolutely fantastic. It's a really good Batgirl origin film, if nothing else.
I'm going back and looking at that shadowing. I don't know. I don't have a problem with that shadowing. Okay. But, yeah. I mean, totally agree. I'm really happy I watched this. This was really fun.
Okay. Well, we seem to be kind of out of things to say about it. I was trying to think if there was anything else I really wanted to bring up. I mean, maybe it's definitely not necessary and probably a little self-indulgent, but I really would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of Babs in costume, because you only really do get the one shot as she climbs in the window. It would have been fun to maybe end with something similar, but it was still really cool. I really did dig the costume. It looked very teenagery, homemade, which is exactly what it is.
It's true.
So,
yeah. She even has the white eyes. which is a cool thing. Like, yeah, I mean, it has a nice kind of cheapy look to it on purpose. And that kind of lends itself. I mean, this film is very wisely using its budget to great effect. And that's the costume is part of it. And geez, those boots are exactly like off the page.
Yeah, you just kind of sometimes you see those costume details and you feel like you just saw the person, or you just see the costume designer like finding that piece out in the wild somewhere and just being like, oh, yes, this. It just it looks it really does look straight off the page. It's a shame we didn't get to see a little bit more of it, but hey, who knows? Maybe a sequel. Yay! Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll just go ahead and go on to ratings. Manos, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Okay. I absolutely love this. I feel like they nailed it on every level. The acting, the cinematography, the effects, and holy crap, that story. It really shines. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 disembodied Clayface hands.
Nice. Yeah, same for me, really. This is just a phenomenal fan film. If you are a Batgirl fan, you should definitely check this out. If you're a Batman fan, you should check this out because it's super fun. So I'll go ahead and I'll give it 5 out of 5 awkward, fake conversations to hide the fact that you're talking about vigilante justice in public. I really like that scene because how many times have you seen like the superhero movie or show where they're like having a really like important conversation in public and like no one pays any attention to it? It's just like, really? Like I don't try to eavesdrop on people, but sometimes you can't help but overhear. And if someone's like, "Listen, Clark, you're Superman," my ears would perk up. So I quite like that just awkward little moment. It was fun.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Manos, what are we going to be talking about next time?
All right, next time we're going to be talking about something a bit unusual because it is partly produced by the people who made the thing. It is going to be the unofficial last episode of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon series, done with some of the creators in mind with fans who worked on this project. And it's kind of like almost a radio play with art. Okay. It's Dungeons and Dragons Requiem, unproduced series finale.
Oh, neat. That's cool. All right. Neat little way to get an ending on something. That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, see you there, folks. And until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.